Knowledge and learning underpin the progress we make, as individuals and as a society. When we know more, we can solve new problems and explore fresh possibilities. For hundreds of years, Oxford University Press has been committed to sharing the best in human thinking. From a child reading their very first words to a researcher expanding the frontiers of their field, we passionately believe in the transformative power of knowledge and learning to inspire progress and realize human potential. But the world is changing. When all information is at our fingertips, data needs understanding. As content crowds every screen, ideas need space to breathe. And when the next great thinker can come from anywhere, they need to be seen. So Oxford University Press is changing too. Whether we're making learning work for anyone, anywhere, anytime, connecting a global community of English language learners, or helping influential ideas achieve greatest impact, we will meet the needs of education and research in new ways, with new ideas, for new audiences. For as long as the world keeps making progress, we will always be advancing knowledge and learning. Oxford University Press. Advancing knowledge and learning.
Hello and welcome. I'm Liesl, a proud member of the DHET team at Oxford University Press. I want to firstly thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Before we get into today's presentation, I would like to share with you a little bit more about Oxford University Press South Africa. Oxford, as we are more commonly known as, publishes for all educational sectors, including schools, higher education, and of course, DHET. We are an award-winning educational publisher with over 100 years of publishing experience in South Africa. Oxford University Press is South Africa's #1 dictionary and literature publisher. We publish more than 2,700 books in 11 official home languages. Our books are well researched and we pride ourselves in the delivery of high service standards. There's a renewed focus from the government towards DHET institutions and the upskilling of people and preparing them to enter the 21st century workplace confidently. One of the most anticipated changes within the DHET arena is the revised syllabi in key subject areas. Oxford welcomes these changes as it speaks to our core mission statement to transform lives through education. We recognize the power of education to change and advance knowledge and learning by uplifting and empowering individuals. We strive in our commitment to develop and deliver high quality and affordable educational materials to learners, students, teachers, and lecturers. You, as lecturers, while you play a critical part in the delivery and the development of our youth. You stand at the front line of the educational system, and we understand that these changes and shifts as you respond to the demands of the fourth industrial revolution can cause uncertainty. But by choosing to attend this presentation, you've taken the first step in responding to these changes, and it's our privilege to partner with you along this journey. Our main aim with this presentation is to carefully guide you through the changes of the revised curriculum and what the changes might mean to you and your students practically. Without any further delay, I will now hand you over to our subject expert and author who will inform us on the syllabus changes and expectations.
Good day, colleagues. Thank you for joining me for the Succeed in Entrepreneurship and Business Management N6 revised syllabus presentation. I would like to thank Oxford University Press for giving me this opportunity to present some of the exciting changes in the EBM N6 and new features in the Succeed In series. Let's start by taking a look at what we will be discussing today. We'll be having a look at the reasons for the revised syllabus. We'll be having a look at the aims and weightings of Entrepreneurship N6. We'll do a comparison of the former and the revised syllabus. We'll take a look at what changes you can expect per module. And we'll also have a look at how the EBM N6 Succeed In series supports teaching and learning in the classroom. We start by having a look at the reasons for the syllabus revision. As we all know, the previous syllabus was implemented in January 1996, which is almost 30 years ago now. We've had changes in the way we do business, especially things like the digital age, digital marketing, and so on. And we've had changes in the way that we teach with the move to outcomes-based education, and also changes for us in the way that we assess with the ICAS guidelines, which were implemented in January 2021. If we have a look at the specific aims for N6 Entrepreneurship, you should recognize that there haven't been any changes there. You'll see that the syllabus still focuses on strategic planning, the changing business environment, how students can use change and uncertainty in their business, and also how they can develop a competitive strategy and a competitive advantage for their business. We also look at alternative forms of business, methods that they can use to start or expand a business, as well as how to develop an international business plan that can help their products to reach a wider market. If we take a look at the duration for EBM N6, we still have full-time at a minimum of 6 hours per week, of which at least 1 hour must be used for practical work. Our part-time also remains a minimum of 3 hours per week for each semester. The practical work has changed slightly. In the old syllabus, the practical work could be done under supervision of a tutor, and in the new syllabus, it specifies that the practical work must be done under supervision of the lecturer. This is obviously because the lecturer has specific subject knowledge, which will assist the students when they are having difficulties with the practical elements of the business plan. If we take a look at the subject evaluation, we can see that the syllabus has been adapted to fit in better with the ICAS. So we have a semester mark of 100, which is compiled from the theoretical and practical marks of your internal evaluation. So our theoretical components are the cycle tests, which count for 30%, and the internal examination or trial exam, which counts for 50%. And the practical component comes from the business plan or any other practical work or assignments that are given, which count for 20%, giving us a semester mark of 100. Looking at the subject evaluation and the weightings, paper 1 remains a closed book paper, counting 25% and covering modules 1 to 9. Paper 2 remains an open book paper with a weight of 75% and again covering modules 1 to 9 and still having 4 questions, of which 3 are compulsory. Our weightings according to Bloom's taxonomy also do not change. They are exactly the same as in the old syllabus. In the syllabus, you'll find under general information, there is a mention about practical applications, which need to take place continuously, as well as an interactive approach, so that students are equipped with practical skills. This means that we cannot just teach theory. We need to make sure that the students are able to apply that theory in a practical situation, such as a case study or a scenario, and also in their own business plans. So our response to this has been to include as many localized, relatable case study scenarios as possible. And we also provide worksheets as well as templates for the business plan, which students can use to implement the theory in a practical way. If we do a comparison of the new syllabus versus the old syllabus, you'll see that there has been no changes. Our modules stay exactly the same, with our first 5 modules concentrating on strategic planning, and then modules 6 to 9 on alternate forms of business. The module weightings will also remain exactly the same. So there's no change there. You can see that the focus is still very much on the international business plan, as well as on buying an existing business and franchising, with less weight put on modules such as planning and the dynamic business environment. So if we have a look at modules 1 to 5, there are no changes or no significant changes other than possibly minor wording changes to the syllabus. However, we have updated the content of the book to improve the understanding of strategic issues. We know that strategic planning and strategic management is quite a challenging subject for many of our students. So we have updated our content and tried to make it easier and simpler for them to understand. Where relevant, we have flashbacks to related topics from N4 and N5. So if something is being built on, perhaps it was discussed in a very simple version at N4 and N5 level, and we are now expanding and building on it at N6, there will be a flashback there to remind students that this is not a new concept. It's just something that we're expanding on. We also find that there is related learning that happened at N4 and N5 level that they need to be reminded of when they're moving on to new or more difficult concepts in N6. So the flashbacks will guide them and take them back to the related sections of N4, N5, which they can always go back to their previous textbooks and they can revise and remind themselves before moving on. We also have definitions provided for key terms. We do find that with strategic management and strategic planning, there are a couple of new terms that students need to become comfortable with. And often in the exams, especially in the closed book paper, they do like to ask definitions. So we've included the key terms which are defined on the page where they are used. In addition, we've also included a lot of local case studies, businesses that students would possibly recognize or that they can relate to, local entrepreneurs' stories that they can also go and learn more about, because these are businesses that they will see in the news, they will be able to visit websites, so they are real local related businesses. And this is included in our starting points at the beginning of each module, as well as our case studies and the examples that we use throughout the book. We also have our QR codes, which is a very nice feature, and these provide additional resources and enrichment activities. So they will direct students to a video that explains the theoretical content, maybe in a simpler way or more interesting way for our students, and also to additional articles that can be used as case studies or discussion points in class. Moving on to the second section of the book, that is modules 6 to 9. Again, there have been no significant changes to the syllabus, but we have again updated the content to highlight the alternative business options that students have. Where we have calculations, we have the formulas displayed in easy-to-read diagrams that are simple to understand, and we have step-by-step workings shown with the aid of examples so that students are easily able to follow step by step and see how did we get from the formula to the final answer. We also have worksheets and the business plan templates, which allow for the practical application of the theory after each chapter. Carrying on with our modules 6 to 9, we have designed these modules to facilitate the adaptation of the N5 business plan, so that they are able to take their N5 business concept, which they built on from N4, and they are able to adapt it further to meet the requirements of a franchise, an international business, or a consultancy. So each element of the business plan is revised and explained, and we facilitate the students in a way that they are able to understand what they need to adapt in each section to meet the requirements of the different forms of business. The new syllabus also aligns better to the ICAS guidelines. It mentions that the International Business Plan from Module 8 needs to be incorporated, which gives you a provision for the ICAS Assessment 2, which is your assignment or your practical task. So the focus of the assessment is normally on Module 8, the International Business Plan, but students require knowledge of Modules 1 to 5, which is our strategic planning modules, to complete their business plan. They are expected to be able to take their N4 simple flea market or small business idea, which they expanded on in N5, and now apply strategic planning to that business. In Module 10, we have a template that students can use to write up the International Business Plan for presentation and evaluation. The different sections in that template are linked to sections of the framework, which we discuss in Module 8. The students can then make a copy of the template, or they can recreate it in a digital format with the assistance of their computer lecturers. And if you are a prescribing lecturer, you will get access to the electronic template on Learning Zone, which will be free for you to use. Students can also use their computer time, if time allows, or if they have access to computers in a resource center, to incorporate a bit of cross-curricular teaching. So you can ask your colleagues that teach computer practice to assist them with drawing up tables for their business plan, or using things such as shapes and images to create a digital business logo. At the end of the book, we have an additional module, which is Module 10. And this is where we accommodate the practical entrepreneurship tasks from each of the modules 1 to 9. So you will find a checklist in Module 10, which contains all of the practical tasks and activities that are stipulated in the syllabus for each module. So here you can see, for example, Module 2, there are 3 different activities or tasks that are stipulated in the syllabus. We show you where to find the related content so that students can go back and revise the content before they attempt the worksheet. And we tell you which worksheet is relevant to those particular activities. And students are able to use this checklist to keep track of their practical work. So as they've done each section of each worksheet, they can mark it off or write a date in, and they can keep track that they have applied each task or activity in a practical manner. Here we have an example of some of the worksheets which are in Module 10. So for example, for a dynamic business environment, you'll see there is a worksheet to conduct an environmental scan. And for buying an existing business, there is a worksheet for determining the fair value for goodwill. And those correlate to the requirements in each module in the syllabus. Module 10 also contains the business plan templates. This has a complete business plan template from the cover sheet through to each of the different sections, the marketing plan, the financial plan, the management plan, and so on. And students are able to use this template when they are creating their franchise business plan, when they are creating a international business plan or consultancy business plan, or even just to practice updating their N5 business idea to apply the strategic planning content that they've learned at N6 level. The students can make copies of the business plan, they can use it for rough work, and they'll be able to work on it throughout the semester until they need to submit it for the ICAS practical. In addition to the student book and the lecturer guide, you will also receive a business planning poster. This is an A1 size poster, which is a very nice front of class tool. It has a summary of the entire syllabus, each of the modules in the N6 book, and it has a little bit of an introduction to what each module is about, as well as a QR code that students can scan. So you can use it as part of your planning, and you can also direct students, if they've perhaps missed a class, to go and scan and find out what the class is currently working on, which section you're busy with. You will also receive a workbook, which goes with the student book. The workbook is a duplication of the worksheets and the business plan template from Module 10 of the student book. But it is separate. It means that students are able to submit the workbook to you if you want to mark their draft work or check their progress as they are working on the business plan or as they are completing the practical worksheets. And it means that there are now 2 copies of the worksheets and the business plan. One that remains with the student in the student book for the open book examination, and one that remains with the lecturer for the purposes of feedback or marking or as evidence in your ICAS, in your practical portfolios. We also have a lecturer guide, which is there to support our lecturers. And here we are looking to reduce your workload. We're trying to find ways to make things easier and simpler and quicker for you when you are doing your preparation, your marking, and so on. So in the lecturer guide, we have a very handy teaching plan template, which covers the entire syllabus and helps you with your lesson planning. We've included some teaching suggestions, which are hints and tips for the various modules, things where, in our experience, our students have struggled in the past, and maybe ideas that we've come up with to assist and to help them to understand certain sections that are a little bit more challenging. The idea behind the lecturer guide is that it's going to save you time, it's going to assist you in preparing your students for the examination, and it's going to provide the rubrics and marking guidelines that you need for your assessment purposes. So here we can see an example of the content in the lecturer guide. We have the teaching plan. You'll see that you have the module as well as the learning content and the learning outcomes, and then the activities or assessments that are relating to that content or that outcome. The resources that you can use, such as the PowerPoint slides, which will be available on the Learning Zone, as well as the QR codes that students can scan to access videos or additional articles. And then at the last column, you can add in your start and finish date. So this assists you when you are doing your semester plan and then also your weekly lesson planning. You simply pencil in the start date that you intend to start each module or each section, and then the end date, the finish date, and you know that you've then covered everything that's required in the syllabus. You'll also see under the module column, we have given you a time guideline. Obviously, each campus runs on a different schedule and each class works at a different pace, but you can see that for Module 1, we recommend spending more or less 1 week on the content. You can also see then an example of the teaching suggestions, where we explain little hints and tips on how to teach each module, as well as where to find the appropriate worksheets and templates and things in Module 10 that can assist you with the practical application. The lecturer guide also provides all the answers or memos for the power break activities, as well as for the case studies throughout the book, and also for the end of module assessments. So every module in the book has an end of module assessment, which has exam style questions. Some of them are similar to your closed book, your section A, where you'd have short answers, multiple choice, matching columns, and so on. And some of them are more similar to your open book, where you have your case studies or your longer questions based on scenarios. And we've provided the answers there for you, so you don't have to still work out the answers. If you give something as homework, you already have the answer to mark it the next day. And you also have a mark allocation guideline. You can see the ticks there, where this gives you an idea of the weighting of the answers and how you should allocate the marks when you are marking that work. We also have a national exam preparation, where we have provided a paper 1 and paper 2. These are similar in the structure to the actual exam papers. We've gone through many years of exam papers, and we've picked out common questions and common areas or topics, and we've put together an exemplar paper that students can use for practice. So you could either let students do this paper as a mock exam, do the complete paper, or you could let them pick out questions from sections that they're struggling with, which you could then give them feedback on, or you could even use this as a question bank when you are setting your internal class test and internal examination. And this brings us to the end of my presentation. I'd like to thank you all for your time and attention today, and I look forward to sharing more information with you in the future. Thank you.
Good day, colleagues, and thank you very much to our subject matter expert for shedding light on what we can expect for the revised syllabus for the entrepreneurship and business management level N6. And now when we reach N6, we can definitely present the full series and package from N4 through to N6. So my part here today will be to share with you once more the features, benefits, and advantages of the Succeed in Oxford University Press DHET series of books. I want to start off by indicating that we will always premise our work on sound principles and quality assurance. We adhere to DHET's prescriptions firstly, and the syllabus that is provided upon which we develop our learning materials. Our textbooks, materials, and digital platforms are carefully developed alongside the experienced authors who are subject matter experts and active TVET educators. And we align this to our quality assurance model known as the LARP model. And the model simply indicates that we focus and concentrate to ensure that the language is TVET appropriate and in level in 4 and in 5 as well, level appropriate for the students. We ensure that there is multitude of activities and quality activities to ensure their competence build up for each module and then accumulatively towards the national examinations. We ensure that there are assessments, formative and summative, testing the modules as well as the full experience of the subject. We ensure that there is preparation for the national examinations to ensure progression of your students and eventually graduation after the N6 level. And then for the lecturers, coming from the TVET classroom myself, time is a luxury we do not have. So the administrative requirements of a TVET lecturer usually requires a lot of time to be put in, a lot of effort, and we want to assist in this. And that is where the planning section of our quality assurance model comes in and speaks to the lecturer guide and the way in which we structure our student books. So let's get into it. What you can expect from Oxford University Succeed in EBM range for N6 would be the student book, inclusive of a free workbook that focuses on the business plan that was developed in the N4 level, perfected in the N5, and revisited in the N6 level. So that's a workbook that can be used in multiple ways in terms of class activity work and also preparation for the ICAS component for the practical ICAS task. We also have an e-publication in the range for the student book, and then also you have your lecturer guide, which boasts all the answers and solutions to the activities and assessments, and we'll get into a few features of that later on in this presentation. So looking at the student book, we sampled module 1 here as the image, but this you will find in all modules. It opens up on a single page, not cluttered with any content, simply indicating in a flowchart the units that students will be covering in each module, where they will start and eventually end up with, all the learning outcomes that are expected of them to accomplish at the end of the module, and then also key terms that are important within each module that they will see either on a constant basis or terms that are used in national or ICAS examinations. And this simple layout helps students and introduces students to the module before starting with the actual content. And it gives a clear visual layout of what to expect. And these are all written up in accordance and exactly to the DHET syllabus. Once the module opener has detailed the overall requirements for the module, we have a starting point. And this really springboards the understanding of students and also the relatable nature of a real life case study or scenario. We use this at the beginning of each module, incorporating a relatable story and using the power of a narrative to ensure that students get an understanding through a story of what is expected of them and what is the purpose of actually learning this module and how it applies to real life. We use real life examples, relatable figures, not fictitious scenarios or information that students will never see in their lifetimes, but real, relatable ones that they will potentially see or have seen already. And it's case study orientated, and it incorporates the learning outcomes or the envisaged learning outcomes for each module. Then we have numerous amounts of power breaks or activities, which you will find throughout the module after learning a good section of work. And then all of those activities gradually build up students' competence and confidence in actually producing the knowledge and applying the knowledge that they have gained, eventually leading up to the end of module assessments and national exam preparation, which we will get to. Each module also has case studies linked to an activity. And the case studies are once more relatable real-life scenarios, localized stories that help students conceptualize through a narrative the real-world application of EBM. We also have QR codes throughout the book that helps enhance the teaching and learning experience. So it is digital assets above the required content of the learning outcomes. And it helps students solidify the content and also expand on their knowledge and interest and curiosity through the power of videos. We also have reinforcement elements such as did you know boxes, definition boxes, exam tip boxes that help explain either a concept in a taking a step back scenario where you're learning the work, but also providing you with a bit of extra information in terms of understanding either the history of something or the future of some concept that you are currently learning now based on a learning outcome. The Did You Know boxes also has interesting facts and additional information. Definitions are provided for words that require a bit more of an explanation and also assist students to understand the context around which they are learning. Then at the end of each module, we have a summary paragraph which helps students comprehend and consolidate what they have learned. And also a short sentence introducing them to the next module so that there is a link in knowledge and a scaffolding process happening of information that is built on and not only written off, for example. Then we have a checklist, and this can be used as a very powerful tool for student self-evaluation, peer evaluation, and your evaluation as a lecturer, where students would indicate the tick for yes, they know what the learning outcome is, they can achieve it. And then we also have a column that indicates a summary of that learning outcome and possibly where to find it within the book if they have not accomplished it yet. And then a tick box to say yes, they have. You can simply walk around as a lecturer and see what they have ticked and do concept checking with them to ensure that they understand the value of the checklist. And then it serves also as a quality assurance tool before ending of the module and moving on to the end of module assessments. They are written up and presented in the same way in which you would find an ICAS assessment or an external examination, which indicates the marks, the total marks, which also helps students identify the level of engagement they need to do on the assessments, and gearing them up towards national examinations. And then at the end of the book, after all the module assessments, there is the roundup of the national examination preparation for both paper 1 and paper 2, the open and closed book examination. It mimics exactly the layout that we've experienced within EBM in 4, 5, and anticipating in 6. In the layout, section A, section B, the compulsory and the choosing within section B of 3 out of 4 compulsory questions. The instructions are exactly as mimicked from national and ICAS examinations, and the duration is set according to the Bloom's taxonomy and also an analysis grid concept applied to it, as well as you would within your college institution in setting up ICAS assessments. Then proudly within our EBM series, the N4, 5, and 6, we have the bonus module. So the syllabus stops at module 9, for example, in N6, but then we have module 10, the bonus module. And this is around the core concept of that business plan, which started at N4, moved into N5, and accumulates and concludes in N6. And if you have our N4 and N5 books, great. So you would know the power of this module in terms of ICAS preparation and also student preparation for confidence in entering the world of work and business. So the module 10 is within the student book, but it's also separate as a workbook. So you have them resting in 2 places, as you heard from our subject matter expert, that can be used then for the open book examination, as well as for any ICAS assessment preparation and submission from the students. So it has loads of worksheets, and the worksheets are, it's not a segregated section. It's linked to all the modules in the book. So module 1, there will be a section, if applicable, to say, right, refer now to module 10 to complete these worksheets related to your business plan, which relates to the content you've just learned in module 1. And so with module 2, 3, 4. So there's a constant interaction and engagement in the whole textbook and student experience. Then you have a full template, set of templates for your business plan. And then with our, so the poster, which you see here, is a beautiful front of class tool that you can use for teaching, but it's only provided for participants to our workshops, and it's not part of the sale of the book, whereas the workbook, which you see on the right hand side, that comes with the purchase of the student book. So the poster, A1 size, it houses the main, or actually all the topics that you find in your N6 book. So we have released a poster for N4, N5, and now for N6 as well. So you should have the full set if you have been with the OUP family since N4. And it helps with a brief summary on what the module or group of modules actually aims to achieve. It also includes a QR code, which extends the teaching and learning experience. So this tool can be used as a front of class teaching and learning tool in your college to help you keep track of the weeks or days in which you would be teaching certain modules, and also assist students in understanding the flow of the information and the overall perspective of the EBM N6 syllabus. Then moving on to the lecturer guide, the planning part of our quality assurance module. And it's really developed with the thought of reducing workload, helping you with lesson plan templates, giving you teaching suggestions as we learn from best practices, eventually saving you time, helping you with examination preparations by providing all the rubrics and marking guidelines. So each module has we firstly start off with a semester plan. And remember, we are not prescriptive, and we cannot be prescriptive on the dates in which you must and should complete a module or task. So we've left that column open for you to complete, to align to your college specific pace setter or work schedule. Then there are a few examples of teaching suggestions that we include per module. And then the power break or activities in your student book will have answers for all of them. All the case studies will have answers or suggestive answers if an answer is beyond a simple 1 + 1 = 2 type of scenario where students are allowed to express alternative answers. The end of book national examination also includes the ticks as you would in a national memo discussion and memo setup. And to conclude, here's a simple flowchart of who we are as OUP. We definitely align to DHET. We use experienced authors. We align our student book and workbook. We provide additional resources, in this case, the workbook. Our book is set up in a recipe, starting from module openers, starting points, which is localized case studies, numerous power breaks and activities for students to build up their confidence, reinforcement elements such as did you know boxes, definition boxes, and QR codes to enhance teaching and learning. Each module ends with a checklist and an assessment. At the end of all the modules, we have a national exam sample. We also have our digital platform, EduZone. So if you have been part of the OUP family, you would know of Learning Zone, and we are now moving over to EduZone, but that will be in the next slide to explain a bit more, where we provide PowerPoint presentations for you to use immediately front of class to start off your semester on a good note. And then obviously we have additional support such as webinars and workshops. Talking about our digital platform, we are excitingly moving over or have moved over to our new all-in-one digital hub, our EduZone. So if you are a Learning Zone user, you would then be redirected and guided to registering for our EduZone platform. So here's the QR code and the URL that will take you to this landing page, and then you will be guided onward from there, or you can get in touch with our sales consultants who will gladly assist you in transitioning from Learning Zone to EduZone. And with that, colleagues, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for your time, your effort, and your dedication in the profession that you're in, and also the time that you give to your professional development and learning more about the revised syllabus and anticipating any changes that you need to make in your teaching and learning structures, and then also considering Oxford University Press as your partner within your success in DHET and EBM.